Transaction Capital is a newly listed financial group with four main units, namely asset-backed lending, unsecured lending, credit services and payment services. Its CEO is former Massmart Chief Executive Mark Lamberti. It has a market cap of 4.4 billion rand, trades on a PE of around 11 and pays no dividends. Right, Transaction Capital, new to the market, but of course Mark Lamberti is not a name to shy away from.
Yeah, he comes with a big reputation. He retired relatively young from Massmart, took his grub stake and put quite a significant amount of it into Transaction Capital prior to the listing. It's really four businesses that have been sort of panel beated together. So the asset-backed finance is basically SA Taxi Finance, which is a major player in the taxi funding business. Unsecured lending is Bayport, which is a business that was started by other guys, and it's just South Africa Bayport in there. Then credit services, I think, is the debt collection guys, MBD. I don't know who they are exactly, but apparently big players in that space. And then finally, it's the old ATM solutions, the business of those unbranded ATMs in the filling stations, and they do quite a lot of, they can now call it Paycorp. So the businesses are increasingly being sort of pulled together and opportunities for synergies explored. The price to earnings ratio, you have to kind of look at what they made before they listed, which I think was about 36 cents a share, double that for the half year. So at around 7.50 rand, they listed at 8, traded briefly up at around 8.30 or something, and have settled down now at around 7.50. So not a successful listing, but it's fairly early days, I think.
Could this be, given that it is fairly early days, as Paul says, the next big thing on the JSE? The next big success story?
I think it's a bit too early to tell. I think the taxi finance is a good business, but also comes with quite high bad debts. The payment solutions brings good annuity income and cash in. And they've got an interest in bad debt collection business as well. I think it's a bit too early to tell. I think that they didn't raise that much cash, and they needed the PRC to come in to fill the allocation. So when they went to market, they actually didn't get as much money as they were expecting. So I think it's a bit too early to tell, and we have to see if Mark Lamberti can, stamp his authority on how everything's run.
To what extent do you bet on Mark Lamberti at this stage of the game?
I think his role in it is to kind of lead the project and to pitch the business. The real management guys are Jonathan Joyner and Mark Mendelowitz and so on, who were the guys that started those businesses and brought them along the way. The Bayport business, I think they bought and they put new management in. So it feels a little bit like it's got the same elements that African Bank and Capitec has. Just to put those numbers in perspective, African Bank, a loan book advances of 50 billion, Capitec 22, these guys have got about 7 or 8 billion in loans advanced, mostly through the taxi thing. But Bayport has also been a big player in the local market. So I don't know, I think they've still got quite a way to travel before they can demonstrate the kind of track record that the other players have. But, I mean, the opportunity for what they do is definitely there. They're going to build a reputation. They've raised it through the listing. They can now get in the corporate market. So, the business of lending is long planned to come. You're
almost equating them to a Capitec in the early days where you were doubting the business model and you were proved wrong. Could be a similar scenario here. I'm not going to let up on you today.
No, in fact, it's slightly different because Capitec started literally with one branch, with a bespoke computer system that they got some guys to do. This is a little different. This, in fact, if anything, is one of those sort of manufactured listings which now has to sort of knit itself together.
Hot or not on Transaction Capital, Rob?
Not hot at the moment.
Hot or not?
I'm quite tempted to say yes, but in my world, I prefer to see things, stand on their own feet. I want to see what the earnings will be. So for me at the moment, I wouldn't class it as a dead cert. I'd say not hot for now.